welcome to the Club DC podcast with your host Brian Davis. Now a brief introduction of our guest.
Today on the podcast, we have an exclusive interview with Joanna Oremland, who proudly hails from Richmond, Virginia. A soulful liquid drum and bass DJ, Joanna has performed at raves and events since 1998. In Richmond, she was the creative force behind Turnstyle, an all-vinyl record store and streetwear clothing boutique from 2003 to 2016. And her current residency every Saturday night on 97.3 FM WRIR Radio has spanned an amazing 18 years. In that time, she has been a prolific producer of mixes, events, and streetwear photo shoots. For 2024, Joanna will co-host Club DC's Rave Style documentary series, which is currently in production. Okay, Joanna, let's get right into it. New York, you recently played a gig up there. How did it go?
Yes, I played in New York for the Driven AM crew and Dieselboy that got together and did a collaboration party on a Sunday at Roberta's Pizza in Bushwick. And it was a family-friendly event. So it was a little earlier in the afternoon, but it was the second one they did and it sold out. And it was a really, really fun time.
Okay, was that a pizza place?
It was at they had an outdoor kind of area and an indoor kind of area. They also had like a to-go kind of area. You know, it's New York. You know, there's a party anywhere, really. There's a party in a silo the night before. It was pretty crazy, but it was a really good time. And the Driven AM people, Dave Schickman and Kelly Ross and Mowski, all throw really good events. So it was a really good time.
So it was kind of an intimate, sort of low-key affair.
Dieselboy was involved. It was not low-key. Dieselboy is the destroyer. Some hardcore drum and bass for people. So it was kind of a wide range of drum and bass. You know, I play a little bit more of the liquid kind of style. It just ran the whole gamut. It was a lot of older heads and some younger heads. And because it was on a Sunday, a lot of people could come, maybe that can't make, you know, the weeknight events.
So that's pretty cool. Like they kind of made it a all ages sort of situation, but more geared towards, you know, people who have kids and stuff.
Yeah, it seemed to be that way. Dieselboy had his son there. Mason had his little girl there. You know, it was family friendly. People were getting something to eat, listening to some drum and bass, and kind of turned into a mosh pit towards the end of the night. It was a really fun time. It's a good time. New York is always fun. It's very vibrant.
Yeah, so pizza, drum and bass, and a mosh pit. Interesting combination.
And some liquid drum and bass earlier, so yeah.
Is gigging outside of the DC metro area a current goal, or do you often travel out of state for gigs?
Yeah, I would say that I would like to do a lot more traveling and spreading the drum and bass and a lot of the liquid and soulful sound kind of that I play that sometimes kind of gets left not to the forefront as much as some of the harder or the neuro. It seems like it would be because it's more accessible to everyone than some of like the harder sounds of drum and bass. I just want to go see, you know, maybe go check out on different coasts what's going on currently. Drum and bass is really having a moment, and it feels like a big explosion is about to happen. I did do some traveling overseas, Italy and Europe, and being over there and then coming back over here, it really inspired me to put a little bit more time in and try to fuel the growth here, especially on the East Coast, maybe more locally like DC and Richmond to a degree, and push more of that drum and bass sound and that kind of vibe that I felt when I was traveling.
So in your travels, do you see like a new generation of DJs and kids dedicated to drum and bass like you were at their age?
Yeah, I would say some younger producers coming up. I'm not a producer myself. I'm more of just a DJ. So I kind of look at it from that kind of aspect. So there's a good mix of like older people kind of passing the torch to younger people starting their own labels. There's a lot of really good stuff coming out right now where people are kind of getting more of a chance to put their music out more than ever before.
How has the scene changed in your eyes since you got into it back in 95, 96?
The music ebbs and flows. You know, you had like 9/11 and the scene was kind of going, and then 9/11 happened and that really shut down a lot of people traveling internationally. So you kind of had to look at your own homegrown talent and what was kind of around you to build. We just came out of a pandemic and then that kind of all went out the window again. I feel like the US needs to kind of grow its own artists a little bit more and stop kind of looking outside to the UK to headline all the parties. We really need to kind of focus on bringing up some of our own people instead of just looking to other places to make our scene better.
Would you say the state of drum and bass is healthy in 2023?
I would say yes, overall, the state of drum and bass is very healthy for 2023. And I think going forward for 2024, it feels like it's going to be the shining star of dance music. It feels to me like the only genre that hasn't really been super saturated in a mainstream kind of capacity as much as like a house or a techno or even a trance genres would be.
And do you think that's the direction it's going? Eventually there will be some drum and bass like it is in the UK. It'll break here in the US like it hasn't before?
Yeah, it's really definitely on the trajectory to breaking already, I would say. There's multiple drum and bass nights that are being supported in the same cities, especially around in Richmond. I'm seeing a lot more multi-genre parties, which is something that I haven't really seen a lot of in recent times. I find myself playing like all drum and bass parties. But it's interesting to do the multi-genre parties because you do get to engage another audience. Maybe, maybe somebody's there for house, but then they hear your kind of like housey drum and bass, and then all of a sudden you've converted them into another genre of music. So I think doing like multi-genre parties is in a good interest for drum and bass to grow even bigger.
And how often do those happen where you play like a not exclusive drum and bass party, but a sort of a mix party?
Here recently, I played a couple in Richmond and I had to really stop and go, wow, I hadn't really thought about it. It's been all drum and bass all the time for years. So yeah, it's been a while since I did a party where it was all different kinds of genres. It was nice to kind of engage with some other types of scenes and not be so in the drum and bass bubble.
Do you think that promoters are seeing a benefit in that too, to have like maybe a little bit of a crossover so they don't have to depend on one crowd to show up to support them?
I really feel like that's kind of the deal in Richmond because it is a smaller community than say like a DC. So you kind of have to, I think it works better that way when everybody kind of comes together and works together because no one can really build it successfully alone.
All right, so your radio show, Frequency, you've been on the air now for 18 years. Tell us about that.
We started Frequency, DJ Jesse Split, my husband, Jesse Oremland, and I started in 2005. We had the record store and a local DJ who was from England came to the store and liked what we were doing and said, hey, we're starting this radio station and we need some dance music and we'd like you guys to have a show. So we got really ambitious, 2 back-to-back shows on Saturday nights. We did a guest DJ spotlight and then we did Frequency, which was just myself and Jesse for a very long time. We now just do Frequency. We kind of combine Frequency and the guest DJ spotlight together in a 2-hour, 1-block show. It's a little bit more manageable. So either myself or Jesse usually opens up the first hour and then we'll have a guest DJ. Gosh, we've had everyone on the show from all the local DJs, regional DJs, Scott Henry, Odie, Terry Mullen, Random Movement, Ben Soundscape, Danny the Wild Child, Frankie Bones. Wow, we've had a ton of people over the years. It's been going on for 18 years on Saturday nights.
Just to clarify it, in case people maybe missed that, Frequency is a FM radio broadcast simultaneously streamed online. Is that correct?
Yes. You can hear that driving around in your car on 97.3 FM, or you can stream it WRIR.org online, and archives are at turnstyleonline.com.
And one of the few, right? Because a lot of these shows that claim to be like a radio show are actually just an internet-only program.
Yeah, internet radio. No, this is FM radio. It's not college radio. It's FM radio. A lot of people get confused. They're like, "Oh, is it college?" It's like, no, it's actual FM radio. You drive around in your car and tune in and listen. We were up there for 4 hours every Saturday. So sometimes we would like leave and go get coffee across the street, and you would go to cross the street and cars would pull up and it would be people you didn't know and they would be pumping the radio and they'd be listening to you. It was just like the weirdest thing ever to see people, just driving down the street, pumping your radio show that you had no idea who they were. It's phenomenal.
So obviously you do a lot of the mixes for the show yourself, but you always now have a guest DJ every week. Do you handpick the DJ beforehand? Do DJs solicit you for a spot? How does that work?
It's a little bit of both. I've been doing a girls' role feature where I've been trying to highlight more of the girl artists or girl DJs in our area, mostly like East Coast based at this point. I've done an interview with them and had some of the girls guest on the radio. So that's kind of been my focus the last year, is kind of helping more female DJs and kind of spotlighting them. It's very much community based. And we're also open if people want to reach out to maybe book a guest spot in the future. It is community radio and we would like to get everybody involved.
Do you think female DJs have achieved parity with their male counterparts? Is it a level playing field now?
No, absolutely not. I don't think so. I think we still have a very, very long way to go. There's still a lot of gatekeeping. I don't know about abroad, but here in the US, there's quite a bit of gatekeeping. And, you know, there's some people who are helping advance some things, but there's even other females who are trying to hold other females back. You know, we have a long way to go.
I noticed you profile several female DJs on the Turnstyle website. Are you trying to foster more of a connection or a sisterhood amongst female DJs?
Yes, I would absolutely like to perpetuate more of a better vibe amongst girl DJs. There's definitely room for everybody. In the past, it feels like we've been pitted against each other. You know, there's only so many females. Let's just step on someone to get ahead. You know, I kind of came up in a situation where sometimes females weren't so helpful with each other, and I would really like that not to be the case going forward. And if I can do that through my actions by highlighting people and, you know, we can all kind of bring each other up. I really feel like there's room for everybody.
You're listening to the Club DC podcast. Stay tuned for more content after this short break. To learn more about our upcoming podcasts, please visit Club DC TV on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest podcasts, documentary shorts, and trailers. Now, let's return to the program.
Now, honestly, very few DJs have owned their own record and clothing store. So tell us how Turnstyle, the store, came about.
Turnstyle really filled a need for myself to get clothes and records. And a lot of my friends too. At the time when we opened the store in 2003, there wasn't a place locally where we could get records. We had to like get in the car and drive up to DC if we wanted any records.
In DC, you obviously went to Music Now and Yoshitoshi and places like that?
Yes.
So when you started the store, were you trying to emulate what they were doing, or you were trying to do your own thing?
Growing up, kind of going to Buzz and being around that kind of vibe in Georgetown and DC, it was really inspirational. Absolutely. And a lot that we did. I used to love to go in. I couldn't actually afford the clothes in Music Now in Bohemia at the time because I was really young, but I would go and visit the wide leg pants. It was fun. But yeah, we were definitely very inspired by everything going on up in DC.
So in terms of sales, did you sell more records or clothes?
It was probably about 60-40. 60% clothes, 40% records, I would say.
Did you offer more clothes than records?
You know, we were a small store, so the availability of getting vinyl records, you know, ordering overseas, it was a little bit more difficult. And the clothes, I mean, like everybody can wear clothes. Not everybody's going to buy records.
Sounds great. All right. Now, you attended Sun and Bass in Sardinia, which is off the coast of Italy. How was it?
Wow. Sun and Bass was quite possibly the very best event I've ever been to in my entire rave life. It was really fantastic. For the style of liquid drum and bass that I play, it was a who's who of all the people making the music that I play. The vocalists that sing on the records were there, singing the records live. I mean, it was just people, you know, big DJs there with their families. It was a vibe. It was a 8-day festival. I only made it 5. I did check out some other European cities while I was over there, but I do plan on going next September and doing the whole 8 days. It was like the Olympics of raving. It was 3 parties back to back every day. And you didn't want to miss anything because every single DJ on the lineup back to back was everybody you've ever wanted to see in your whole life, all at the same time. It was insanity. I can't wait to go back.
Who did you see there?
Oh, wow. DJ Storm, I mean, the queen of drum and bass, Killjoy and Digital and Caliber and Lensman and Track and It was everything. It was everything.
Did you approach any of these people?
There's a few people who probably should be glad that I don't know what they look like, because I fangirled it out. It was amazing. I got to give a big shout out to Lilac Drum and Bass and Motiv. Motiv is a really amazing drum and bass producer out of Manchester in England. And his music is just this fun, funky, vibey kind of drum and bass. So I was pretty stoked to get to meet him in person. A really big treat was seeing Ben Soundscape, Colette Warren, and Rhea perform together, and it was raining. And hearing Rhea and Colette Warren sing Open Page, this Metalheads track that's pretty old off of Lensman's label, to have them sing it live in the rain, I just pinched myself the whole time. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Now, in the setup there, did they have any, I mean, obviously they had vocalists sing along with the tracks or whatever. Did they have percussionists? Did they have some other musicians join in?
The MC scene is so much bigger over in the UK that the MCs almost have as much, and the vocalists have as much stature on a lineup as the DJs do. And we don't really have that over here as much in the US. And maybe that's what we're lacking over here that might take drum and bass to the next level, is that, you know, over here, a lot of people in the US are more like kind of band oriented, and having like someone sing or represent on the mic with the DJ, you know, in conjunction, maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need to build up more of an MC scene where people, you know, are collaborating like that. And maybe that will broaden it to encompass like, you know, more everyday mainstream people and kind of get them more into our music, or make it a little bit more palatable or acceptable to them, so we can grow it like it is in the UK.
So what was the crowd like? Like the age range, and were there a lot of young single people, or there's a lot of married couples?
I would say it probably skewed, it was more of an older crowd, you know, maybe like 25 to 55. There were certain, like, you know, the day parties at the beach, you know, I saw a couple of the DJs, you know, they were vacationing, they were with their families and they had their children there. You know, the nighttime event that goes till 6 a.m., obviously not child friendly. That was more of an adult thing. But they had some venues earlier on the day where, you know, it would be okay to bring your family. It wasn't people getting, you know, wasted and crazy and acting nutty. It's drum and bass heaven. That's all I can say about it.
So before heading back to the States, you stopped at London for the Drum and Bass Allstars Festival. What was that like?
The Drum and Bass Allstars Festival was the extreme opposite of Sun and Bass. Like the extreme opposite. It was a 7-area festival of drum and bass. Maybe not my favorite style of drum and bass. It was definitely a pretty fun experience. I'd never been to London before, so it was just a really fun time to get to travel around and see what's going on in other parts of the world as it relates to drum and bass music, and, you know, like what's going on here. It's always fun to get out and vibe with people and bring a little bit of that inspiration back with you.
When you say it was the opposite of Sun and Bass, do you mean it was not as fun, or it was just more chaotic, or?
Well, you know, you're going from an island and you're at the beach to cold weather and hoodies, and it was raining in the mud in a field. It was quite a bit different. The sounds of the music was different.
It was harder?
Much harder, much younger. It was just a different vibe. More of a, you know, in the middle of a city vibe, wearing hoodies and jeans, to, you know, being at the beach, everybody chilling, you know, hearing people sing and being in the water. You know, it's just a different vibe. When we go back, I think that I'm just going to go and spend all my time at Sun and Bass.
So is it just my perception, or is drum and bass still massive in the UK and it's even more underground now in the US than it was in the 90s?
No, I definitely think it's definitely above ground. We still have a long way to go, but it's definitely, I think 2024 is going to be a very interesting year to watch United States drum and bass.
What's your read on it? What's your feeling about it?
It's just gaining speed, and there's a lot more people that are into it. There's a lot of venues that are more accepting of it. People are looking for something different, you know, and drum and bass is it.
Okay, back to the whole DMV area. What are your favorite places to play here?
I really like to play at the Owl Room. I like to play at Flash. U Street Music Hall, I got to play there a couple times. That was fun. I really enjoy playing for the Cadence crew. I like playing for Too Tough. I want to say big ups to the Too Tough and Cadence crews and Dom at 3D. Those are my favorite people to go up and play for in DC, and they're always a good time. Big ups, Dom.
How about in Richmond? Did you have a couple spots there that you like?
Richmond's very do-it-yourself. Basically, a restaurant will give you a space, and you bring all the people, and you do all the promotions, and you pay all the costs, and they take all the bar. It's terrible. It's just not that fun. But we have a couple of new venues coming up here that are a little bit more outfitted than they used to be. So there might be some places that I could come back and answer this question for in Richmond. You know, it's okay here, but DC is definitely more established.
Okay, so a little bit of a flashback. You know, you mentioned Too Tough. Too Tough used to do the DC Armory shows, and then you had obviously Buzz and Mango at Nation. Those are parties you probably attended religiously.
Yeah, you could say that.
What do you remember about them?
Not much, if they were good. Just kidding. It really informed my youth, and it's been my entire lifestyle. The first time I went to Buzz, it completely changed my life. And, you know, I still haven't looked back. I'm still raving and still listening to dance music, and thankfully still seeing some of the same people out when I go out, and I'm still dancing and having a good time. I'm grateful that I found Buzz in DC, and the early raves was really life-changing.
So in conclusion, after 25 years on the decks and 18 years on the radio, what is your greatest ambition now?
I would like to put my book out of my fashions, and I'd like to keep, you know, putting the archives up of Turnstyle and the history that we created here for so long, and we're still creating in Richmond, because it doesn't just belong to me, it really belongs to everybody in Richmond. All the things that we've done and built through Turnstyle and the radio and the stuff, you know, that we're continuing to put out with music. And it's really doesn't belong to just us. It's really a legacy that is for Richmond. So just continuing the Turnstyle site and just hopefully continuing to play music and share that with people, because I love it, and getting to dance. I love dancing too.
Thanks for listening to the Club DC podcast. For the latest episodes, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.